It started as an ordinary walk, a woman, her dog, and the endless New Mexico desert. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the sand, and the only sounds were the crunch of gravel underfoot and the distant call of a hawk. For locals, these trails were a place of peace, a daily ritual, a way to connect with the wild beauty of the Southwest. On a chilly February day in 2009, that walk uncovered something that would haunt Albuquerque forever. The air was crisp, the sky heavy with winter clouds, and the desert felt especially quiet, almost as if it was holding its breath. Just beneath the West Mesa's dusty surface, a secret waited, the remains of 11 missing women and an unborn child. The ground, so familiar and unremarkable, hid a darkness no one could have imagined. The discovery was staggering, a mass grave hidden in plain sight near a growing subdivision. Families had built their lives just steps away, never suspecting what lay beneath the sand. Shock rippled through the city. This wasn't a distant horror, it was in their backyard. News spread quickly, and fear settled over Albuquerque like a heavy fog. The West Mesa, once a place for quiet escapes, became a sprawling crime scene. Police tape fluttered in the wind and the hum of investigators replaced the silence. Questions flooded in. Who were these women? Who could do this? Families clung to hope for answers, while the city grappled with disbelief and sorrow. The high desert sun beat down as forensic teams in white suits sifted through the earth, inch by inch. Every fragment of bone, every scrap of evidence was painstakingly cataloged as the search for truth began. The beauty of the landscape clashed with the horror beneath. The West Mesa's sunsets, once breathtaking, now seemed to mourn with the city. One bone led to another and another, the tally climbing, the city's fear deepening. Each new discovery brought more pain, more questions, and a growing sense of dread. The desert kept its secrets well. For years the wind had swept over this ground, erasing footprints, hiding the truth in plain sight. This wasn't random violence. The careful burials, the remote location, the number of victims, it all pointed to something far more sinister. Someone had planned this, and for years no one had noticed. A predator had moved through Albuquerque like a ghost, leaving heartbreak invisible for years. The city's most vulnerable had vanished, their stories nearly lost to the wind. The West Mesa was no longer just a place. It was a chilling symbol of a mystery just beginning to unfold. Its name would forever be linked to tragedy and unanswered questions. The city braced itself for answers that would be slow, agonizing, and incomplete. In the shadow of the desert, Albuquerque waited, hoping for justice and fearing what else might still be hidden beneath the sand. On a crisp February morning in 2009, Christine Ross and her loyal dog Ruka set out for what they thought would be a routine stroll along the dusty trails of Albuquerque's West Mesa. The desert was quiet, the kind of silence that makes every footstep echo, every breath feel heavier. As they wandered, Ruka's nose caught an unfamiliar scent. She pawed at the earth, digging with sudden urgency until she unearthed a bone, old, weathered, and Christine immediately suspected human. The sight sent a chill through her. With trembling hands, Christine dialed the police, never imagining that her morning walk would ignite the largest homicide investigation in Albuquerque's history. Her heart pounded as she waited, the desert suddenly feeling vast and ominous. Forensic experts arrived and quickly confirmed her worst fears. It was a human femur, unmistakable in its shape and size. The gravity of the discovery settled over the scene. Where there was one bone, investigators reasoned there could be more. The desert, once a place of solitude, now seemed to hide dark secrets beneath its surface. Police, state, and federal agents soon descended on the 100-acre site, bringing with them heavy machinery, ground-penetrating radar, and a sense of urgency. The search area was vast, the task daunting. The search was grueling. Sand whipped at faces, the wind howled, and investigators painstakingly combed the earth for any sign of evidence. Each step forward was a battle against both the elements and the unknown. Then, the unimaginable happened. Bodies began to emerge, first 2, then 4, then 7. Each discovery deepened the horror and the mystery. By the end of the excavation, the toll was staggering. 11 women and 1 unborn child had been found, their lives cut short and their stories buried in the sand. The city was shaken to its core. Albuquerque now had a name for its nightmare, the West Mesa Bone Collector. Fear and speculation gripped the community. The bodies weren't buried deep, just a few feet below a patch of land slated for new development. It was as if the killer never expected them to be found, or perhaps didn't care. Whoever the killer was, they knew the area intimately, using the desert's isolation as a cloak to hide their crimes. The vast emptiness became their accomplice. The investigation had its victims and its location, but the central question remained: who was the ghost haunting the mesa? Detectives pored over evidence, desperate for a breakthrough. The city waited, desperate for a face to match the horror, for answers that seemed just out of reach. Families mourned, and a community held its breath. The desert, once a place to forget troubles, had become a graveyard, a silent witness to unspeakable acts. The search for answers had only just begun, and the West Mesa would never be the same. As investigators identified the remains, a heartbreaking pattern emerged. These women weren't random. They were young, mostly Hispanic, struggling with addiction and involved in prostitution. Living on society's margins, they were vulnerable, and their killer exploited that vulnerability. Names like Michelle Valdez, Cinnamon Elks, and Jamie Barella, just 15, put faces to the tragedy. Most disappeared between 2003 and 2005, years before their remains were found. Why wasn't there a massive outcry? Poverty, addiction, and the sex trade made their disappearances easy to overlook. Some families filed missing persons reports, but their cases rarely made headlines. The killer chose victims he thought wouldn't be missed. Families were left with grief and guilt, navigating a system that often seemed indifferent. These women were more than their circumstances. They were mothers, daughters, sisters, and their stories deserved to be remembered. The tragedy was not just in their deaths, but in how easily they were forgotten. With the victims finally identified and a timeline painstakingly reconstructed, police were certain of one chilling fact: a serial killer was at work in Albuquerque. The evidence was undeniable, and the city's sense of safety was shattered overnight. The growing number of victims, their similar backgrounds, and the use of a single remote dumping ground all pointed to a methodical predator. This was someone who planned carefully, who knew the land and how to hide his crimes. This was no impulsive act or crime of passion. This was calculated, organized, and terrifyingly efficient. The killer left almost nothing behind, no clues that could easily be traced. The bone collector could be anyone: a neighbor, a co-worker, a face in the crowd. He blended in, hiding in plain sight, moving through the city unnoticed. Investigators believed he gained the women's trust, lured them with promises or lies, and then vanished without a trace. He was careful, patient, and always one step ahead. The idea that a serial killer operated undetected for years cast a chilling shadow over Albuquerque. People began to question everything and everyone, wondering how such evil could go unnoticed for so long. Gallows humor emerged, jokes about weird uncles and the ordinary face of evil. It was a way to cope, to make sense of the fear that crept into daily life. The killer likely knew the West Mesa intimately, had access to a suitable vehicle, and was confident, persuasive, and physically strong. He was someone who could move unnoticed through both city streets and desolate landscapes. But this profile fit too many people. The city was full of faces that matched the description, making the search feel almost hopeless. Without a clear suspect, it was like searching for a single grain of sand in the vast desert. Frustrating, exhausting, and seemingly impossible. The shadow was real, but the man who cast it remained invisible. He haunted the city, always just out of reach. The city lived with the fear that the killer could be anyone, anywhere. Every stranger became a potential threat, every dark corner a source of anxiety. The hunt for the bone collector was just beginning, and the city braced itself for a long, uncertain road ahead. The Albuquerque Police Department formed a massive task force, joined by the FBI and forensic experts. They set up a tip line, hoping someone held the key to the case, but they hit a wall of silence. Witnesses feared law enforcement and possible retaliation. Detectives spent countless hours building trust, but information was scarce. Families held vigils, pleading for justice as months turned to years with no arrests. The case felt cold, the killer still at large. Police chased thousands of tips, but there was no smoking gun, no DNA, no confession, no witness. The task force had theories and circumstantial evidence, but nothing solid. The wall of silence held, and the bone collector remained a ghost. The West Mesa discovery sent shockwaves through Albuquerque's vulnerable communities. For women on the streets, the bone collector was a real, ever-present threat. Trust vanished. Women worked in groups, shared information, and built fragile safety nets. Fear and suspicion grew. Every unfamiliar car, every stranger was a potential danger. Urban legends spread. Was the killer a cop, a businessman, someone hiding in plain sight? Many women went further underground, making outreach nearly impossible. The case exposed the deep divide between marginalized populations and the systems meant to protect them. It forced Albuquerque to confront issues of addiction, poverty, and sex work. Community groups called for more resources and compassion. The horror on the Mesa became a catalyst for change, demanding the city face its uncomfortable truths. Over the years, the investigation has chased many leads, each promising, each ultimately a dead end. Lorenzo Montoya, killed after strangling a woman, lived near the burial site and fit the profile, but no evidence linked him to the victims. Joseph Blee, a convicted sexual predator, was also investigated, but again, no solid connection. Theories abounded: a trucking ring, multiple killers, even conspiracies. Each was explored, every lead chased, but the central mystery endured. The case file grew massive, a testament to thousands of hours of work. Yet the most important page, the one with the killer's name, remained blank. The Bone Collector was still a ghost. With little physical evidence, investigators turned to technology. Advances in DNA and digital forensics offered new hope. Familial DNA, cell phone records, and online activity were all re-examined. Detectives sifted through old data, searching for any clue about the victim's last days. Online sleuths and armchair detectives joined the hunt, keeping the case alive in forums and podcasts. The digital world became a new frontier, ensuring the victims were never forgotten. Every few years, renewed attention brought new tips and memories. The investigation now lived online, a collaborative effort between police and the public. In the absence of a confession, this digital pressure might be the best hope for a breakthrough. 15 years later, the West Mesa dust remains unsettled. The Bone Collector case is still open, a scar on Albuquerque's history. For the families, time has deepened the longing for answers. The killer exploited society's blind spots and vanished. The story offers no neat ending, just a puzzle with a missing piece. The memorial on the Mesa stands as a silent promise. These women will not be forgotten. The wind still carries the whispers of an unsolved mystery, a quest for justice that is far from over.